All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday with my man Nades, talking some hoops. 7 games today, Nades, and I like how it's broke up again. We talk about it a lot. 2 games at 7 Eastern, 1 at 7:30, 1 at 9, and then 3 at 10. So get a little 1.5 hour window like yesterday, another 1 hour window between the Suns, Toronto game, and the night games. And man, you look at this injury report, a lot of out tags like usual, Wemby, Cat, Booker, so important ones that will definitely determine what we do on this slate. But as far as Q tags, really only Jaylen Brown. Obaji's questionable, Lonnie Walker. But if those are the names, Lonnie Walker and Obaji, talking Q tags on a 7-game slate in March, we're doing pretty good. So I'll throw it to you. How's your day going? What's your thoughts on this slate?
Yeah, day's going good. We got a big NHL slate tonight too. Got you covered for that. I'll throw my cores up here after the show. We got nice little NBA slate here. I'm in the camp of, hey, let's get all the games in the first hour or whatnot, and then get on with my night. But I know you're in the team grinded out, update the projections every lock time throughout the night. So hey, it's best of both worlds for everyone here. Got a nice slate on tap tonight. Should have you covered. And we got you covered with every sport over here at SHIPIT Nation for sure. So excited to dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. Golf lock today, but we do have showdown content, best showdown PGA content, ownership projections in the industry going by. I know Tambo talks about it a lot, but hey, some people, some sites, it looks like they just copy their main slate projections into their showdown stuff. Each hole is different, pin placement, back 9, front 9, when they go out, etc. We take all of that into consideration. MMA this week, oh baby, UFC 299. Going to be a very big card. Marley and I going live tomorrow. We got you covered in the MMA streets. We got NASCAR on Sundays now. Of course, NHL, Nate's mentioned, NBA, projections in all those sports, ownership as well. You can't beat the price. You can't beat the content over here, the community we have in the Discord. Hey, if you want to join, make sure you use that promo code HOOP15 for 15% off your cheapest deal. Weekly, monthly, 6-month, and annual packages. Of course, annual is the cheapest. Going down the list, etc. All the membership packages except weekly do include the Discord too, which is a huge piece of our content. Weekly, if you just want to give us a try, see the content, you will not get the Discord though. Monthly or above, make sure to get in the Discord. Use that promo code HOOP15. Pair of eyes in here. Go collect. Wins a lot. Michael, my man Rio, Jordan, Willie Jones, Slappy, Jake, Gator Nation. What is going on, everybody? Hope y'all having a good day so far. Again, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Nades, any broad slate overview? If I just say 2, it would be 2 teams. I guess maybe 3 teams. But the Spurs, no Wemby. Obviously, that means the Spurs are going to be very interesting. No Cat on the Wolves side. Couple Wolves, definitely interesting. We're talking chalk. I guess the Lonnie Walker news does mean a little bit as well. Value isn't great. It's definitely a mid-tier build, or it's Luka, and try and figure it out from there. Any broad slate overview before we go game by game and start with this Minnesota game?
Yeah, it's definitely a mid-tier build for me, at least when you run optimizers and things like that. That's what it's looking at. Obviously, a lot of these Minnesota pieces we'll get to here, the first game to kick us off, right, with the Cat news. You're talking Anthony Edwards, right? Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert, 3 very popular plays to kick off the slate in a pretty good game, especially for, Rudy Gobert. We'll get into it matchups-wise. But overall, pretty interesting slate. It's interesting that there's only very minimal questionable tags, right, which is nice to see. So that obviously helps when you got 7 games spread out like this. You're not waiting on a ton of news. So we kind of got everything that we need. Definitely makes it better and definitely makes it more intriguing for me to not be really kind of glued to everything all night long. Obviously, things pop up and you still want to rerun your stuff, but it's not like we're waiting for a ton of news, right, on those 10 o'clock games like typically a normal NBA slate is. So should be a good one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Again, two biggest pieces of news. Lonnie Walker for me. We will get that before the slate lock. 7 p.m. Eastern does Brooklyn play. Then Jaylen Brown. That game's at 10 p.m. Eastern in Denver. I wouldn't backload or like make sure like you're avoiding these games. Like I'm not going to avoid Minnesota. I'm not going to avoid some Brooklyn pieces. If you like Luka at 7:30, like I would play your guys. I wouldn't be dictating your roster around Jaylen Brown at those 10 p.m. Eastern games. Is how I see it. What's going on, Philly Phantom? Hey, awesome stuff. Almost shipped the mini max. Great work right there. I saw Tambo had a pretty solid night in the Millie Maker stuff as well. Mark F was up there for a little while, so love to see that. A lot of good calls, I think, on the yesterday show. But let's get right into this one, Nades. Again, we're using our partner optimizer over here at Solver. You can see SHIPIT Nation projections loaded in. Boomer updated these before we went live. We will go game by game, and you can see how we have projected. I will sort by value. First game of the night, Minnesota Timberwolves, Indiana Pacers. We are looking at a 228 total. Pacers 2-point favorites. Injury report in this one. I mentioned it. Towns is out. Obviously, very big news. Kyle Anderson probably starts in the starting lineup. He's going to get some ownership. Ant obviously gets a bump. Gobert gets a bump. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. On the Indy side, Benedict Mathurin is out. Nothing else there. Again, you can see right here by value, a lot of these, Ant, Kyle Anderson, Gobert, hitting without Towns. All of them seem like good plays. I'd even be fine getting to Ant and Gobert together, all three of them together. I'll throw it to you on that note, though. Yeah, start with Minnesota, what No Cat does, and then Indiana definitely lower own side. But you look at right here, Tyrese grades out pretty well for us. Ownership isn't going to really be there. Siakam, take away this first game of the night.
Yeah, so this game's interesting for me. My two favorite plays are definitely Ant. I like Ant a lot. You see his usage go up almost 4% when you take Cat off the court. He's 8,800, fits that mid-tier build, right? Kind of being him as the spend on this slate. He's going to play all the minutes he can handle. It's a plus matchup here. I like it. I mean, he should get his 35-plus minutes here if this game does stay close, which it should, in my opinion, here. So I like him. And then Rudy Gobert, best center play on the slate, in my opinion, right? It's a matchup where we attack centers against in this slate, and Rudy Gobert, no Cat to deal with. 7,500 price checks out. So those are my two favorite plays. Rudy Gobert's been a monster pretty much all season long too. So going to play his 39 to 40 minutes. All the center minutes basically go to him. So I love those two. Kyle Anderson's tough for me. His minutes are going to be secure here. It's just I'm not really been a Kyle Anderson guy, especially at when he's going to be the highest owned play on the entire slate. But I get the reason, right? 4-3. I'm going to see if I can try and get away from him because I don't really want to play all three of those guys together. I just think it's a common roster construction build here tonight. They're obviously all three very good plays. Outside of those guys on the Minnesota side, really not too interested in too many of these other Minnesota pieces. It's pretty much those guys. Maybe a Jaden McDaniels, I think, would be fine at 4,200 if you want a slow-mo pivot at the forward position there. I think that's where I would look, right? Same position, $100 difference. His minutes aren't as secure as Kyle Anderson's are, but I think his ceiling is better than a Kyle Anderson. So I don't mind a Jaden McDaniels there. And then on the Indiana side, yeah, you lose Cat, right, from this defense on Minnesota. But they're still a good defensive basketball team. It'd just be Halliburton for me as a contrarian. 8.8 is a fair price point for what his ceiling shows. Halliburton or Siakam would be the only two that I would even look at Indiana, but still not super intrigued with the Indiana side.
Yeah, I'm with you. Good breakdown. I mean, so I will say our man Rio, he doesn't like the chalk Kyle Anderson. And right now, Kyle Anderson definitely looks to be probably the highest owned value on the slate. Zach Collins will be actually higher owned, the same price as well. But he's a center eligible. Kyle Anderson, small forward, power forward eligibility. Lonnie's going to get some value. Some of these other Spurs guys, again, mid-tier looks to be popular. But all right, yeah. I mean, you can never chalk Kyle Anderson. There's plenty of ways to bust. Ant, I love, though. I love Gobert. I don't know, like the Jaden McDaniels of the world, I'm not quite sure about. The Indiana side, I'm with you. Like even clicking Tyrese right now at 8.8 on a slate like this, like Ant for the same price. Of course, you can play both. But like the KDs of the world with no Booker, De'Aaron Fox coming off a monster game, like Vassell in the mid-tier without Wemby. I usually don't say that, but I do like those others a lot more than Tyrese. So yeah, it'd probably be Siakam, my preferred play if I do go anywhere on Indy. Otherwise, don't like Indy much. Richie Smalls asked like Naz Reid or Kyle Anderson, who will be more popular. Assuming slow-mo starts, it definitely will be him. But you can definitely get to Naz Reid, I think, as well. That power forward eligibility is nice on this slate. Gobert, Zach Collins, two very strong center plays. I do think Naz Reid is fine. Any thoughts on like a Jalen Smith if you want like a different value play, or a Mike Conley at 5'2"? Any thoughts on those two?
Not a ton. I mean, I get that Naz Reid, right, has a ceiling here with no cat, and he could potentially close this game, right, over a guy like Slow-Mo or something, depending on what the game looks like. At 5'4", definitely Kyle Anderson's going to be much higher owned. I was thinking more, like I said, I like the Jaden McDaniels pivot of Kyle Anderson if you are looking for and need a value there. Just at ownership, I mean, Kyle Anderson's going to be probably top 3 highest owned plays on the entire slate. Not to say that you can't play chalk, but it's just when you already want to play myself, I want to play Ant, I want to play Gobert. Do I really want to throw a ton of my total lineup construction ownership in tournaments into the same team? I don't know. Don't have a ton of interest really in Jalen Smith, any of these value plays. I think if I would grab a value play, maybe Obi Toppin, just because he's 3-3. He's been getting 16 to 20 minutes, somewhere at that. If he gets a little extra run at 3-3, I think he'd be fine. He's been shooting. He'll take some shots. He can score. So I don't hate that, but really pretty much off this Indiana side in general. And Minnesota's a very good defensive team. And just because they lose Cat doesn't mean their defense is going to drop off a cliff, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for sure. Indiana side would probably be a max 1. Definitely good on the Minnesota side, though. McDaniels, like the McCall. Then the next guy could be Travis. Lost too much money on McDaniels. 15.5 rebound prop is insane to see. That was this morning. Who knows what that number is now, but most definitely we don't play chalk except when we do. Hey, you definitely got to eat some chalk in NBA. It's what you play around it. We talked about Nas, talked about Conley, definitely good with those two. And then, yeah, we talked about Anderson. Definitely can cap him around the field, 45%, 50, whatever you may think that is. Totally fine with that for sure. Can't wait for UFC 299. Me as well, Matt. Hope you're doing well yourself. We appreciate that like button. Doing even better when we see those likes going up. Appreciate it as always. Let's keep it rolling, Nate. Next game on the slate, the second of 2 at 7:30 Eastern. Brooklyn Nets, Detroit Pistons, 216 total. Nets 2.5-point favorites. Nothing on the Detroit side we have to worry about for injuries. Definitely cannot be the same. Cannot be said on Brooklyn though. Ben Simmons out for the year. Day'Ron Sharpe out. Cam Thomas out. Cam Johnson out. Lonnie Walker is questionable. So that Lonnie Walker news is actually big because, I mean, they're already thin, obviously. Lonnie Walker will probably start. Last game he played 29 minutes. Cam Johnson got injured in that game. So that's why the minutes are up there. Now I think Lonnie starts for Cam Johnson, assuming he does play. The Q-tag is an illness. And again, 4-6, like value isn't great on this slate. Doesn't look to be getting much better with only really Jaylen Brown as a Q-tag. If Lonnie misses, then guys like Trendon Watford, Jalen Wilson, those guys are already fine plays, I think, would become a lot stronger plays, especially like a Jalen Wilson. He might start if there is no Lonnie Walker. So they're thin. Like Dennis Smith's going to get run, Bates Diaw, Wilson, Watford off the bench. It really could just be them. They got what? Keon Johnson, Noah Clowney as the other guys on the roster. Wouldn't be surprised if they saw no minutes. So Lonnie's in. They could have 9. If he's out, maybe like Keon gets a couple minutes here and there. But regardless, they're going to be thin. I don't know. Mikal Bridges, what do we do with him at 7-1? He's going to be popular. The price looks great. Does he have enough upside at this ownership to win the slate, though? Lonnie plays a good play. Again, if he's out, Wilson, Watford even become better plays. Dennis Smith Jr., I think, is in play. Schroeder, Claxton. I mean, these Brooklyn guys definitely strong. I don't think Detroit's in a bad spot either. Close spread. Guys like Kate Cunningham, Fontecchio, Jalen Duren. I mean, he's going to be very low owned at strong center position. Is there Thompson? I'll throw it to you, but this is definitely a very good game to target. And with only Jaylen Brown as a Q-tag that we're worried about, we'll get this Lonnie Walker news. Like, if most of my lineups are built by 7 p.m. Eastern, I am totally fine with that. So take this one away.
Yeah, I love this game. And I actually like 2 plays a ton on the Detroit side. I'm going to start with Cade Cunningham. I think he's going to be low owned on the slate. And I mean, I love his ceiling in this matchup. He's going to chuck. We know what Cade does. He's going to play the minutes that he can handle, low 30s, mid 30s minutes. And he's going to take his 20-plus shot attempts and his 5 to 10 3-point attempts and pick up any peripheral stats at 7-6 in a plus matchup. I love him, love the ownership, love everything about Cade Cunningham. And then another guy I love a ton is, you mentioned him, Simone Fontecchio here, 4,200. If you remember that first game that we talked about, Kyle Anderson, right there, same position, dual position eligible. You're talking about 40 to 50% ownership down to about probably 10% or under in Fontecchio here in a game where we have him projected for 30 minutes. He's played basically 25 plus the last 3 games. He's taken 10 plus shot attempts. He's shooting 3-point attempts. I like him a ton at 4,200 in this game. So I like him and Cade a lot from the Detroit side. Delanie Walker, I think, is a great play if he plays. If he does play, that definitely lowers my interest a ton in Mikal Bridges. We've seen a little bit. We have a correlation tool over here. They've been negative correlated when those two are in there. Obviously, I get it. They're shorthanded, right? But I'd still prefer like a Dennis Schroeder and a Lonnie Walker combo over a Mikal Bridges Lonnie Walker combo. Mikal Bridges, if Lonnie Walker's out, his minutes are super locked in. It's going to be hard not to play him. But I'm hoping Lonnie plays, so I can just play Lonnie. I can play Dennis Schroeder, and fade Mikal here. So obviously a great game environment. I like the Detroit pieces as low owned pieces. And then obviously all the guys, the main guys, right, are in play on the Brooklyn side. My favorite would be Lonnie if he plays, Dennis Schroeder, and then Mikal Bridges, obviously. But I'm looking to get off of Mikal here.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense. Like, DeRozan, I guess, had a solid game yesterday. You needed Sengun, but Bridges, DeRozan, like, their upside feels capped. They are thin, but, I mean, Bridges always plays upper 30s minutes, or usually does. He's a fine play, but I think there's other pivots in a strong mid-tier. We'll get to some of these Suns guys, the Ants, the Goberts of the world, Fox, maybe lower-owned pieces. Always look at the slate plan. Haven't said it yet today. I do say it a ton. Rua does a great job breaking down upper tier, mid-tier, lower tier blurbs like that. You can find a lot of hidden gems. Shout out Caruso. That was a call that definitely stuck out yesterday from Rio. Good ownership, low ownership. I saw Tambo take advantage in one of those lineups as well. So what's going on, Sean? Jake already said hi to you, but yeah, hope you guys doing well. That's Brooklyn, Detroit. Lonnie Walker news, very important. If he's out, these Wilsons, Watfords, like, they're going to be thin. That's how you get these 3K cheap value. And then it'll help to get up to Luka, which we'll talk about in this game. Dallas and Miami, 229.5 total. Dallas 4.5-point favorites. Nothing to worry about on the Dallas side in terms of injuries. Tyler Hero, Josh Richardson out for Miami. And again, in terms of ownership, I think Luka will be the highest owned in this game. If like Lonnie's out, maybe those Brooklyn guys would help more people get to Luka. Still, I mean, man, he has been so good. 12-2. It feels right. To be honest, it might even be a little too cheap. Value isn't great on this slate. That's where you would go the slow-mos. Jaden McDaniels. We'll get to Lonnie Walkers or the other guys, like some of these Trey Jones, Zach Collins of the world. You can make Luka work. You probably want about 70 from Jimmy Butler. Rio talked him up a couple nights ago. He's been playing great ball. Terry Rozier, Bam, Caleb Martin. For me, it's just Luka on the Dallas side. I probably max one the Miami side. And Butler would probably be my favorite, but I don't love anything on the Butler side. I do think he's a solid pivot, though. He'll get some ownership, but a solid pivot in that 8.3K range around Ant. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, great breakdown there to kick it off here. You can always play Luka. Like I said, I'm going more mid-tier. I like the Cade Cunninghams. I like, obviously, the Ant Edwards. You can fit a lot more guys, right? You can build teams with Ant and Cunningham and Fox and Beal and Zach Collins, obviously, some of those mid-tier guys. And the roster just looks a lot better, in my opinion, than spending all the way up to 12-2. I mean, you're talking $4,000, right, off of Cade, over $4,000, right, going from Cade Cunningham up to Luka. I get it. You can play him. If I were to play anyone in this game, it'd probably be him on the Dallas side for sure. Outside of that, not a ton of interest. And then on the Miami side, Jimmy Butler, I think, is a great pivot. That's a good call there in that Ant Edwards range at 8.3. Save a little bit of money to go to him. Similar ceiling, right? Jimmy Butler's looked good. He's been playing good basketball lately as well. He's obviously going to get all the minutes he can handle. And then one other play, Duncan Robinson, shooting guard, small forward. He's been playing pretty good ball right now. He's getting all the minutes he can handle as well. He's taken 9 3-point attempts in each of the last 2 games. He's taken 10+ shot attempts. He's making it. He's hitting his shots, and at 5'8", I don't hate that in this matchup. But overall, this is a game I'm kind of under on, to be honest with you, when you look at the whole slate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. I like the Minnesota side a lot more. I like both Brooklyn and Detroit more than both these sides. It's really just a Spence for the most part. Like even a Hawkes, I guess I'd be fine with. You mentioned Duncan can get hot. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those Miami guys get there. Bam, Jimmy, whoever may be, probably just want one. And I mean, I think the floor on a lot of those guys, if it's not their night, if it's Bam instead of Jimmy, you pick wrong, etc. Rozier misses shots, defers. Like I think there's a lot more downside than upside, even at the ownership on Miami. So don't like that side much. Luka bust on Dallas. I'm with you. Don't like that game very much either. We'll go next game on the slate, 7 to talk about. So we talked at 2 at 7, 1 at 7:30. This game's kind of on the island at 9 p.m. Eastern before 3 games at 10. Toronto Raptors, Phoenix Suns, important game for DFS. 233 total, which is second biggest on the slate behind the Spurs Kings. Big spread, though, at 10. The Suns are favored, and the Suns are without Devin Booker and Kogi, which means nothing to that spread. But no D-Book, obviously important. Royce O'Neal will start. Toronto's beat up still. No Scotty, no Jakob Poeltl, no Bruce Brown. Ochai Abaji's questionable. Jalen McDaniels questionable, which means nothing. Abaji's the third piece of news I would say is the most important. Again, I wouldn't backload or not play anyone on Brooklyn, Minnesota, etc. because of Abaji, but he's now starting without Scotty at the 3. If he misses, I think it'll be Wara that starts again, and I think Wara is fine down there. Grady Dick would get more run. I don't think the Abaji news means too much on this slate, though. Again, Lonnie Walker, Jaylen Brown, more important. Start with that, but yeah, I mean, Toronto side with no Scotty, with no Poeltl, Kelly O still starting, 6.8K is getting up there, but man, he's just so solid, and that power forward eligibility I love. So I think he fits a nice mid-tier. Quickly's getting up there, but so much touch time, so much usage. He can get hot, pivot right in that ant range as well. Royce O'Neal starting 5'6", Bradley Beal 6'9", KD at 9'7" is not all the way up to Luka, but not all the way down to Ant Gobert. Fits well without Book, so another great game to target. But a 10-point spread, I guess. Does that scare you at all? I got to get the solver up right. Phoenix, Toronto. Does the spread scare you at all? And then talk about Abaji news to start, and then go for wherever you want.
Yeah, so I mean, this game is a good total, right? My interest, I have some interest in this game. It starts, obviously, probably everyone's favorite play from this game is going to be KD because, I mean, he's averaging in the game since Booker's gone down, right? KD's averaging nearly 40 minutes a game and about a 33% usage rate, somewhere 33%, which is obviously good. He's sub 10K. So you compare him in this spot, in this matchup, to spending about almost $3,000, a little under $3,000 more to get up to Luka. I would much rather play KD. I think he's a good play. Bradley Beal fits that mid-tier build at 6'9", with a high implied team total here. He's put back-to-back good games together. He's going to chuck like he always does. So I like those two guys from the Suns side. And then the third piece would be that Royce O'Neal at the small forward, power forward position, 5'6". I like him a decent amount here in this matchup, in this spot. And then you named it, Kelly O would be my favorite piece on the Toronto side. The only thing I worry about here is foul trouble going up against Nurkic. I believe he fouled out earlier this season, obviously on a different team. But when he went up against Nurkic, played the Suns, I believe he fouled out earlier this season. So expect him. I think he's a solid play. There is always the foul trouble concern and obviously the spread concerns if this game does blow out. But at 6'8", nice, you can play him at the power forward position. Definitely improves my interest there. But I think he's fine. Outside of that, I mean, the other Toronto pieces are been priced up. It would just be pivots and tournaments for me. Only Quickly probably would be my favorite just because he's in that same range as in Ant Edwards at significantly lower ownership. But outside of that, not a ton of interest. KD, Bradley Beal, Royce O'Neal are my 3 main pieces from this game.
Yeah, good breakdown. I like it. So Richie Small says Warren play at all. I think I would need him to start at 3.9K. Like the Zach Collins at 4.3, even slow-mo, McDaniels. And if there isn't a Lonnie Walker, then you get Jalen Wilson's, Watford's of the world. Like I don't think 3.9 with War off the bench, way too much downside. He'd have to hit some shots early. So if he starts at 3.9, it definitely in play his value. Otherwise, I wouldn't go there. I do like the Nurk look, though. 7-2, center is a very good position with Gobert and with Zach Collins. You're going to get an ownership discount. Upside, I mean, I pulled it up on Solver. Definitely some big boy upside. Does Nurk have right here. 59 piece, 41, 60. If he gets the minutes, Toronto plays small. I don't mind the Nurk call one bit at all. So at that loaded center position. Otherwise, not too much. Yeah, I love Helio. He'd be my favorite play in this game. Did you touch on Beal at all? Any thoughts at 6'9" or like KD relative to the Ants?
I prefer KD, but Beal fits that mid-tier build, and at 6'9", I mean, he's definitely got a ceiling at that price point. He's probably going to be decently owned because he fits the build. At least when I'm running optimizers, running teams, he's hitting a lot of the teams just due to his nature of his price point and the dual position eligible, right? Point guard and shooting guard, obviously guard position as well. I do have interest in him. I prefer KD if you can get up to it, but you're talking almost $3,000, right? In a slate where there's not a ton of good value. So I think one of those two is good. And then I do like the Nurk call quite a bit too, looking into it further. Above average matchup here, 7-2. He can kill you, but he can also win you a slate, and that's what you want in tournaments, in a spot where you know where people are going at the center position already. So I think he's a great pivot there too.
Yep. What's going on, Marquis? Hope you're doing well. And Jake, he's on till still about Nurk's 31 rebounds game. Hey, I would too. If he had 31 rebounds and knocked me out of first place, I would still be tilting him in my dreams as well. But we got 3 games left on the slate. 4 down, 3 to go. Those are all before 10 p.m. Eastern. So 9 p.m. Eastern right there. 3 games at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then you get to enjoy time with the family, hit the sheets, whatever you got to do. Again, our projections will be updated throughout the night. Right in this game, Jaylen Brown questionable. Huge news. If he's out, projections will be updated before the game. Core reports, if anything changes, cash report, GPP core reports, they will be made in yellow. Ceiling rankings, correlation tools, as you've heard Nate's talk about. Discord, huge piece of the process as well. A lot of knowledgeable members in there. Rio Jobs, Gems in there as well. Just a slate plan right now. Rio not on the show, still dives very, very much in depth. He has his write-downs on the slate plan. Top tier, mid-tier, lower tier, blurbs on those players. A lot of good stats in there, so definitely should check that out. Part of your NBA process. First stop, MMA $299, PGA Showdown going on, MLB. That'll be here before you know it. NHL as well. Big slate today. Nades is talking. Head over to SHIPITNation.com. Get in the Discord if you do join monthly, 6-month, or annual package, and definitely use that promo code HOOP15 for 15% off your package. 3 games left, Nades. These last 3 games, I mean, by far the Kings-Spurs game is the most appealing for me. One of the best games on the slate. Don't love Bulls and Warriors much. This Boston-Denver game, I guess, is meh, but it'd be the second of the 3. So that's my overview of these 3 games quick. This one right here, Denver-Boston, 220 total. We have Boston 1-point favorites. Injuries in this one. Again, Jaylen Brown questionable. Big news. Denver side, nothing to worry about. I'll throw it right to you in this one. Obviously, you can always play Jokic, just center eligible. Luka's only 800 more. You know you were at Luka at low ownership today. I think Jamal's pretty interesting in that mid-tier. Rio just had a stat. I think it was Wednesday or something. Like, Drew's a great defender. They have good on-ball defenders, but they've been lit up in the pick and roll. Jamal Jokic pick and roll should be money today. 7-7, a good price tag. So, obviously, those 2 strong, but break down this game, how you see it.
Yeah, I actually like Jamal Murray quite a bit here at the 7-7. He fits the build. He's going to be super low owned here. He's had back-to-back, 50 burgers. He's going to get all the minutes here in this game. It's not the most appealing game from a DFS perspective, right? 2 of the best defenses in the league, 220.5 total, but it's a close spread. Just the studs for me. Jaylen Brown, I think, would be a fine play if he plays. It's just tough to play a guy with a back injury. There is pivots. If you do play him, right, you can go to other guys like a Michael Porter, right, a Devin Vassell, Malik Monk, things like that. But it's pretty much Jamal Murray's my favorite play. And then a low on Jokic here. Jokic flirted with a triple-double last time earlier this year when he played Boston. Think he's always fine. And not only that, it flips the build a little bit, right? Because people are basically going Gobert and Zach Collins at the center position, right? And maybe if you go a Zach Collins and a Jokic, right? You don't play a Gobert, you play a Kyle Anderson, you play Ant Edwards, and you fade Gobert. It flips the build, right? You use one of your center spots at a spend-up center. So don't hate that. But outside of that, not a ton of interest. Jamal Murray, my favorite play.
Yeah, not much more to add. Jamal would be my favorite as well. It still would be hard, 20 teams or less, to get to Jokic because, like, Luka, with the positions, with Luka only 800 more, I just feel so much better there. I mean, yeah, lock in a triple-double. Someone says for Jokic, sure, he can easily get a triple-double, still not be optimal just because of center position, his price tag, etc. So I think I like KD more at 9.7, and I think I like Luka more for 800 more, all things considered. Jamal would be my favorite in that game. Yeah, Jaylen Brown, if I knew he was playing, maybe Tatum, like have a spot for Tatum at 9.5 or have some late swaps. We're going to get to the Spurs-Kings game. There's a lot of good plays and a lot of different tiers there. So I would have interest in Tatum for sure if Jaylen Brown was out. Still don't think he's the worst play if he was in, but I mean, I guess at the ownership, Tatum can always do his thing. I would prefer others if Brown was in than Tatum, but I would think Tatum would be interesting and still probably pretty low own if Jaylen Brown was out. So wouldn't mind plugging him in your roster, having a couple people in the Spurs Kings game and doing a couple 2v2s, 3v3s from there. Yeah, not much more. I don't think Porzingis is crazy. Derek White as low own options in this game as well in the mid tier to maybe get a little bit different. Do we think the Suns play small ball because of Toronto starting? I still think they're going to run out Nurk and trying to see if Nurk can dominate Kelly O. I don't think they're going to get away from Nurk and go like a Bol or even KD at the 5. I don't really think so, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities. Rio, if you have any thoughts there or you disagree with me, you can let me know as well. But we'll keep it rolling. 2 games left on the slate. Very good game coming up right here. Probably the game of the night in terms of DFS, as you can see with all this blue value on the solver. Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, looking at the total, 235.5, biggest on the slate. Kings also the biggest favorites on the slate at 11. No injuries to worry about on the Kings side. Coming off a back-to-back last night against the Lakers. De'Aaron Fox went ham. Spurs side, though, no Wemby. So without Wemby, Zach Collins will start. I mean, Zach Collins, we talked about a lot. 4.3K, probably the highest owned player on the slate. Looks like good chalk to me, but hey, there's obviously plenty of routes to failing. Center's a loaded position. You get 2 people that put up a Sengun performance or something like that, and Collins only gets you 28. He probably isn't on the optimal. So you can definitely make a case to fade. Sabonis on the other side, another great center play in this game, 10-6. Fox still underpriced at 8.5. The Keldon Johnsons, Vassell's, Trey Jones, Sokin, Champagnes, Branhams, I think all of them are fine as well. Malik Monk, price has gone up a little bit. I still like Monk as a contrarian spend. I mean, so much fantasy goodness in this one. If it stays competitive and the Spurs stay in it, someone's getting there, probably multiple pieces on both sides. So take it away.
Yeah, I love this game. I'll start with Zach Collins. Very hard to get away from Zach Collins here at 4.3. It's just tough to not play Zach Collins. The argument you can play is foul trouble, right? Going up against Sabonis, but still hard for me to get away from him. I think if you do get away from him, you play a guy like Dominic Barlow, who I assume is going to be the backup center here. He's still in minimum on both sites. He, I think, is a more interesting play a little bit over on FanDuel, where Zach Collins is more expensive. But still at 3K, going to get the backup center minutes. If he lucks into some foul trouble, you can't get you can never go wrong there with a stone minimum guy. So I think he's a fine tournament option there. I love Sabonis on this slate, again, as a contrarian guy. I mean, you want to talk about a contrarian guy, all the ownership is going to go to De'Aaron Fox on the Kings side for a good reason. He's underpriced. It's a good matchup. It's the best, highest implied team total on the slate, and one of the best fantasy games that everyone wants to go to. But you take Wemby out of the interior, and Sabonis is going to be going up against Zach Collins and no Wemby down there. I mean, Sabonis could play bully ball down there and absolutely nuke the slate at very low ownership here. I mean, he just went for 66 against the Lakers last night, and that was up against guys like Anthony Davis, right? Zach Collins, no Anthony Davis. So I like him a ton. Sabonis is probably my favorite play from this game when you consider all things, or favorite play from the Kings side, I should say. He is expensive, $2,000 more than De'Aaron Fox, but way lower owned, different build, different roster construction. So I love Sabonis. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox is a great play. I think Malik Monk, he's been out of his mind. It feels like the time I jump on him now is when he's going to cool off from shooting, right? He's been shooting very well, right? Last game, 3 of 5, 10 of 19 from the floor. It's still a tournament play in that mid-tier shooting guard, small forward position. I think he's a fine option. Devin Vassell on the Spurs side, I think, has the highest ceiling. But it is the Spurs. It is Pop. But I think his minutes are the most secure out of anyone on the team with the highest ceiling at 7-3. He fits that mid-tier build well. So I like him. I think there's a ton of good plays in this game. My favorite play is definitely Sabonis in tournaments. Zach Collins, I think, is pretty much a lock for me. I'm not going to risk the foul trouble in that. I'm just going to play the plays that are in front of me. This is a play that I'm willing to eat. So overall, great game. And definitely, basically, it's the 2 early games in this game for me. It's pretty popular route, but there's different ways to get different within those games, like the Jaden McDaniels, like the Sabonis, things like that you can just tweak a little bit different and have a 2v2 and hopefully get the way all the way up to the top.
Yep, and I will bring up good breakdown. We'll bring up this point by clips. FanDuel. So we got the Wemby news yesterday. They did a much better job with pricing. It's still not great. Vassell 7-7, Trey Jones 5-5, Collins 6-1, Keldon 5-7. But like instead of 4-3, Zach Collins is 6-1. Huge price difference. Zach Collins will not be nearly the most popular play on the slates on FanDuel. He also has power forward eligibility as well. Fox is 9-5 instead of 8-5. Sabonis 10-8, which is a little more similar, but the pricing definitely way worse on FanDuel. I think a lot of the ownership, I mean, Brooklyn's pretty underpriced, especially if Lonnie Walker's going to be out. So like Royce O'Neal starting, slow-mo again. So definitely a good point there that I wanted to point out. FanDuel, this game will not be nearly as popular. Still solid plays, though. Like, if this game stays healthy, people are going to get there. I think one is Sabonis or Fox. If this game stays close, I love Sabonis as a contrarian center spend. I don't know, though. What are your thoughts with Jokic's price and Sabonis's price? Which one would you lean?
I lean Sabonis just due to the matchup, right? He's a little bit cheaper, and I think, I mean, we could see 60 plus out of Sabonis for what's the price difference? What is Jokic 11-4? So
11-4.
Yeah. I mean, I like the matchup a lot better for Sabonis. I get it, right? It's still Jokic, and he's basically matchup proof. Almost went for a triple double earlier this year, but I mean, Sabonis is going up against a Wemby-less Spurs team in the paint. I mean, I think I prefer Sabonis. Yeah, I mean, that's a guy I want to come in over the field on for sure in tournaments. He's projecting right now. We got him at 5%, anywhere from 5 to 10%. He's going to be basically 1/3 the ownership, in my opinion, of a guy like De'Aaron Fox. So I like Sabonis a ton, to be honest with you.
Yep, and maybe the back-to-back frown phrase. Adam said, "Hey, maybe that keeps the Spurs in the game a little bit." After yesterday, but man, I mean, we like picking on the Spurs without Wemby is definitely something that seems profitable to me. So we got one other guy. Go ahead.
One other guy I do want to bring up is Trey Jones at 5-3, just because out of all the Spurs, I mean, he's projected to be the lowest of the starters for sure. 5-3, point guard position. He has shown a ceiling. I know it's a gross play. My favorite Spurs play is definitely Zach Collins, obviously, and then Devin Vassell, just because Vassell's minutes are locked in. But Trey Jones at 5-3 here, I mean, he's been a huge beneficiary and usage rate, everything, and the price is fine in that mid-tier. So I don't hate a Trey Jones play.
Yeah, I will say he's probably going to be one of them that are more popular on FanDuel than on DK. You definitely – I mean, he's a good defender, some stock upside, mainly steals, not much. But because of the price, 5.5K on FanDuel – other guards are stronger, like we mentioned. De'Aaron Fox, way better price on DK. Who else is a pretty good? I mean, Luka, just point guard eligible. Mike Conley, I do think he's going to be a little lower owned on DK than on FanDuel is Trey Jones. So I like that call. One game left on the slate. Jake likes SoCan. I do. I don't mind SoCan, but I do say, Nades, I agree with you. Obviously, it's Zach Collins, my favorite Spur, but Vassell, definitely my favorite Spur. Last game of the night, not one I have too much interest in. Chicago Bulls, Golden State Warriors, another back-to-back for these Warriors. Blew out these Bucks yesterday. Hurtful. You want to pull that? You pulled it up. Do you want to talk about that quick? That's on FanDuel.
Yeah, clips. That's on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's going to be probably sub 10% in my opinion, just due to his price, point guard eligible only. Cash games in FanDuel, he's going to be a staple. I'll leave cash to our guy Title right here on the screen, but I would assume he's a staple. He's a staple over there. He's going to be low owned on DraftKings, and he's still got a fair price point in a good game environment. So I was talking more DraftKings. Obviously on FanDuel, yeah, he's going to be mega chalk and definitely a cash game staple.
Yep. Yeah. Couldn't say it better. So yeah, last game of the night, Warriors and the Bulls back to back for the Warriors. Wouldn't worry about it though. Blew out the Bucks. Hurtful for Steph. Had a decent amount of Steph. Only got 30 minutes, but 223 total, 8-point favorites. Warriors side of the ball, they're healthy. In Chicago, nothing has changed either. So no injury news we're waiting on this one. Game is definitely going to be low owned. I think you can go back to Steph. Again, this contrarian mid-tier option at 9K. I definitely don't love it though. I mean, I don't love this game in general. Like Caruso, I don't know if Rio's feeling Caruso again with the matchup. Definitely have to check out the slate plan there. Kobe White, I will say. I like Kobe White. I mean, the he's on one. If he gets hot, he's going to chuck. He'd be my favorite play on the Bulls side. Io would be second. Caruso 3. I mean, Vooch, I still 8-3. Like, I much prefer Gobert. He's a fine contrarian center option, I think. But I prefer White to Sunmo Caruso. I prefer the guards. Steph or bust really on the Warriors side. Not a great game. Don't want too much exposure to it. However, they're all going to be low owned. So if you want to use it as a differentiator on the slate, and if you backload maybe a little bit with the Steph or something, Jaylen Brown's out, you have more flexibility, maybe get up to a Tatum from a Steph, etc. if it's in the util. So DDR 49 last night, 1 point away. Hey, if you didn't have Sengun, it didn't matter. But I do think Chipotle shipped the Millie. Literally talked about that yesterday. I mean, I talked into existence. I don't know why I wasn't saying I was going to ship the Millie, but I think he won it with DeRozan too. Yeah, he got the job done, I guess. But he doesn't break 50, Jordan. That's the thing. What do you got in this game, though, Nate? It's the last one of the night.
Yeah, Kobe White, I think, is good, right? I mean, yeah, he's shooting good, but, I mean, he's taken on average 16 shot attempts a game, cashing in at 62.5%. Does that keep up? I don't know. Do I want to pay 8K do I want to pay 8K to find out in a pretty gross game? I don't know, but that's how you win tournaments, right? DeMar DeRozan did smash this matchup earlier this year, I believe. He's a pivot off the Ann Edwards at the small forward, power forward position at 8,200. You save $600 there. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, low on Steph Curry. But really this game is pretty gross in my opinion. Just if you got chalk everywhere, right? Or if you're playing catch up, right? We didn't talk about that. Two of the juicy games are the very first two games. And if you're sitting with a snowflake and then you get around to that Phoenix game and that Toronto game, you got a Kelly O or something like that. You're sitting with some snowflakes and you're trying to get to the min cash to minimize your losses. Pivot into some of these low-end guys like a DeRozan or something like that if you do have money and salary off of some of those Spurs Kings guys, because obviously these three games lock at the same time. I don't think that's the craziest play, but outside of that, really not a ton of interest.
Yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. Like, I guess Steph would be fine. I don't even love Steph. One of the guards on the Bulls, probably max one. Don't love DeRozan myself really at the price. Vooch, I guess, is a contrarian spend. Or is a contrarian center. Plenty of other centers I like more. So, yeah, I mean, Sacramento Spurs game, by far the premier game at 10 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota, very good plays there with no Cat. Brooklyn, Lonnie Walker news is actually pretty important. Obaji would be the other Q tag, like Wara stuff would be in play. I still think Quickly's fine. But, yeah, this game, if I had crossed one off, it probably would be this game on the slate. That's all 7 games. I like how it's broken down again. 2 at 7 Eastern, 1 at 7:30. 1 at 9, 3 at 10. Showdown core report, as always, from our man Rio. will be on the site. Slate, how he's going to attack the slate, his rankings, projections updated throughout the night. Again, Showdown Golf. Don't miss out on that action. MMA tomorrow. Big Marley and myself. MMA Saturday. Marley and myself. Talking fights. UFC 299 tomorrow. Nate's got his NHL content up. Make sure go check that out for the nights. NASCAR on Sunday. I mean, what don't we have, baby? Who 15% off. Final words for the people, Nate. It's good stuff today.
Yeah, no, good slate. Obviously, we got two good games to kick it off, like we broke down. We'll have all our cores up, and any changes are always highlighted in yellow. We'll be in the Discord. Our guy Rio is always in there grinding away. But overall, got you covered for every sport. Obviously, it's rolling in the weekend here. Huge MMA card. I know you guys are jumping on tomorrow to talk about that, and there's some giveaways coming on that show. So if you guys like MMA, or if you want a chance to maybe win a free membership to the nation over here, tune into that show and see our guy Title and Big Marley breaking that down. But overall, good luck tonight in your contest, and hope to see those Shipping Nation logos up at the top.
Oh, yeah, that new Shipping Nation logo, that white one, the blue one, it looks pretty nice. The black and white one is giving me success. I might have to change those soon. They look spiffy up there for sure. There they are right there, the Jordan one. You don't need to run it back. No, you don't. But that logo, that's nice when you see that puppy in first place. Good shout out, though, giving away a free membership thanks to a member tomorrow on the UFC show. So check that out. Good luck tonight, everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. Use promo code HOOP15, 15% off. Get in the Discord. Enjoy your Thursday night. Great stuff as always, Nate's for Nadesify. I'm Titletown. Be safe. Have a good one.